This right here is probably my money chart. Every conference I go to, every Wall Street firm, everything, I show this chart because I have to explain this, because this really explains everything, not only for the US economy, but for the housing market. As you can see, bankruptcies were much higher back in the early part of the century. And then they kind of stopped in 2005. I think people forget there was a 2005 bankruptcy reform law, right? That was designed to absolutely make sure that people don't over leverage themselves on credit and just file for bankruptcy easily. So that's why the bars for the bankruptcies were exceedingly high and then kind of declined very noticeably. But as you can see in the black line that I draw, again, I'm very, very happy about drawing black lines because I want to show a trend. 2005, 2006, 2007, and 2008. All of these years have one thing in common. People were filing for foreclosures, bankruptcies, all before the job loss recession happened. See, that was a credit boom and bust. That was exotic loan debt structures. Housing's traditional lending risk is what we call late cycle lending. People that buy a home very late in its expansion, very low down payment. If they lost their jobs, right, it takes 9 to 12 months minimum just to get the foreclosure process started and maybe finished. Back then, we were already seeing this stress. None of that was happening at all whatsoever in the last 12 years. Why? Because we fixed the credit channels. And as you could see below, if you could look very carefully, you'll hear people say, oh, foreclosures are up 700%. Perspective, right? Household formation, demographics, credit, everything looks great. Foreclosures will go back to the pre-COVID trend. That'll happen because we're starting the process of old foreclosures from 2018. However, what's going to happen is that the 30-day lates, 60-day lates, 90-day lates in America are all at all-time lows. The new listings data is at all-time lows. When you would see housing stress, you would see 30, 60, 90 days late start to pick up, and then you'll see new listings data explode. That's where people are going to what I call forced equity sellers. So many people have equity in their homes, and then 42% of homes have no mortgage on them. So there's a lot of nested equity. Those people, if they are stressed, would probably sell their house. But there's nothing in the data, and that's why we created the weekly tracker, so we can take the fastest data possible, right, to give you a trend change. And what happened last year, part of my work in October 27th, I wrote an article for Housing Wire, the case for lower mortgage rates. Doing my bond market channel, geeky, nerdy work, I said, okay, this is where the 10-year yield should be falling at this point. Let's take a look at what housing demand does with that. Starting from November 9th, purchase application data started to get better, right? And because it got better and there was no credit explosion, inventory levels stabled out. And for 6 months, the housing data got better. Nobody cared about it, right? The media doesn't want to say it. Crash, burn, prices down. You see these economists, they 15 to 20%, 10%, 15%, 20%. They're just sticking something up and hope it sticks, right? Those are not models, right? You have to figure out affordability indexes models. They're just saying nice round numbers, and hopefully somebody will put them on TV and stuff. What's happened is we never had home prices fall last year, right? The total prices were increasing. The month-to-month data got bad the last few months of the year when mortgage rates spiked up. But right now, the dynamics of housing has changed. Inventory levels are low, demand stabilized, and as you can see here, credit looks really good, right? And I think that to me is, we just came off the longest economic and job expansion ever recorded in history. If it wasn't for COVID, we'd still be having that because household balance sheets look so much better. And it goes back to the core root of housing. Why do we have 30-year fixed mortgages here in America? Fixed debt cost, rising wages.